it just dawned on me. You guys have absolutely no clue how I know or why I should even be telling you how I do things. Like, how do I know how to do these things? So let's get into it. I come from a long line of homesteaders. My family on both sides, paternal and maternal homesteaders, all the way back into the 1700s and also coming over on boats to work in fields. So I also come from a long line of gardeners. Everybody basically in my family, it was just commonplace. We gardened. And because of that, I come from a long line of canners. I literally have been gardening for 40 years and I've been canning personally for 30 years. Now, my parents raised me to always question and test things. Always. It was just something that we did. So, in my 40 years of gardening, it started out planting things in the worst spot. Like I thought tomatoes would want to be planted under an orange tree. I will never live that down. Everybody that grew up on the block that I grew up on had enough tomatoes to last them an entire lifetime. My mother literally made sure she dropped tomatoes off at everybody's household and told them that my daughter grew them. Tomatoes love to be planted under orange trees. Who knew? That started me on a whole path of testing everything because when somebody tells me you can't do that, it won't grow there, I turn around and test it because the tomatoes grew under the orange tree and they told me it couldn't grow. What can I do here? Which is interesting because I live here and they told me I couldn't grow peppers and I'm growing peppers. I couldn't grow tomatoes here and I grow tomatoes. Couldn't grow sweet potatoes and I grow sweet potatoes. So literally, I test everything. And jumping on the same boat that I've been canning for 30 years, I actually looked into taking the Master Canning and Food Preservation program, and my county told me no because they said I knew too much and shouldn't go through the class because I already knew it. And while technically they are correct, I still wanted to go through it so that I would know I could have the knowledge of teaching it. I'm actually kind of glad I didn't go through it. Also, growing up, I took wood shop and auto shop, and I liked being in the garage building speakers and tables and things with my dad way more better than I liked being stuck in a house. I don't do well stuck in a house. I was the first girl taking wood shop in my school, and I later found out my father had to almost threaten the principal because he called and said, "Your daughter signed up for wood shop and she can't take that because she's a girl." That did not go well for the principal. But how did that passion carry through? I built most of the furniture that's in my own home. Like during COVID, people were watching reruns and I was ordering and having wood delivered from the lumber yard. I built my table, the bed, I built coffee tables, all of my desk furniture. So yeah, I love working with wood and the craft is amazing. However, I do like sewing. I taught myself how to sew. My sister got the nice fancy sewing teacher and lessons, and I ended up watching and teaching myself how to do it. So I do sew. I also knit. I also spin fiber from a sheep into a sweater. Like I can literally take the sheep's fur fiber and I can shear it off a sheep and then I can turn it into a sweater. It's the process of each thing that amazes me. Like literally every single thing has a process and a good and a bad way of doing things. Which brings me into another thing. When I learn to do something, I learn to do it the old-fashioned way, and then I learn how to do it the real way or the new way. And sometimes the new way is not always the best way. And then I can make an educated decision on which way I want to go. Which way do I feel is the best? Speaking of education for myself, I took Cordon Bleu cooking school classes for quite a while, and I learned special techniques that I still carry on to this day. It was amazing. And in San Francisco, it was a great reason to go visit San Francisco. I also am a master gardener. You don't know that because technically I teach unproven methods that I have found that work for me, and unproven methods are not supposed to be taught through the Master Gardening program. So I'm a master gardener, actually trained, but I'm also a certified permaculturist, and those two are very much compatible, but sometimes not, because in the permaculture world, you're looking for ways of fixing a solution, and what they say is your problem is your solution. Which if you really think about it, it's a tongue twister and a mind twister, but it really is true most of the time. I also teach seed starting programs and growing gardens and container gardens in my local community. I'm heavily into seed saving. A lot of you guys tell me to save seeds, but I know when to save a seed and when not to save a seed. It is an art form on seed saving, like a massive art form. And there are some seeds don't even bother trying to save, because if you have a similar crop a mile away, you can get cross pollination, which makes the seed not savable. I'm also heavily into preparedness, being prepared for any event that could happen and being able to react to it, which means I have taught myself some medical things. I have the ability of stitching you up if you get a cut. I've performed surgery on my chickens, like literally, really, seriously. I was also a licensed instructor for the Refuse to Be a Victim program, which is how to protect yourself, your home, how to have self-awareness. I'm also a heavy proponent for the 2A, right? Pew, pew. Especially for women, I think we all should be prepared for any situation. I mean, in the original homesteads, when the men brought their women out here and they left them on the homestead, they left them with things to protect themselves with. They didn't just leave them and go off. They left them with ways to protect themselves, and women knew how to do it. I also love video editing, like literally, and I love computers. I've built computers from scratch, from the ground up, with little tiny pieces that are this big. And I've also modded out computers. I built them in Snap-on toolboxes, where instead of the drawer coming out, you pulled the drawer down and you pushed the little start button. And I built them in modded off ammo cans. I mean, I literally built all kinds of computers. And I love running them and testing them. And I've been doing that since I was 9. Thank you, Dad. Thank you. I'm an early adopter of most things and really heavily into automating things with technology that I can automate so that my life becomes easier, but yet it doesn't take me over. Like there's always an override in my world. And then I'm also heavily into paper crafting and anything with a Cricut and creating beauty and organizing. I mean, all of that makes a well-rounded person in my world. And I'm very into apothecary and essential oils. And you guys might read fictional novels. I'm actually reading herbal remedy books. That's what brings me joy and happiness. I very rarely sit down to watch TV. I find movies, 2-hour-long movies or even an hour and a half, torture. And when my husband says, let's sit down and watch a movie, I look at him, what have I done so wrong that you want to torture me for? Some of you are laughing like, that's not serious. Oh no, it's serious. I literally have a movie that I started watching in Amazon, and it's been there for 3 months and I still haven't finished watching it. I'm like 30 minutes in. Great movie. I've wanted to see it for a long time, but yeah. At some point in time I'll finish it. I'll get to it. That's just not right now. I also made paper. I used to make my own paper by grinding up wood pulp and stuff. I love the organizing. I think I might have told you that. But that's a little bit about me. That's a little bit about the crazy world that goes up in my brain. It's just nice to meet you guys, and I'm really glad you're all here. Thank you for joining me along this adventure where I just want to share life. So now you know what I know, which really isn't much.